Good afternoon, esteemed judges, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lean. These are my colleagues Marla, Yasmina, and Fuad. And today we're very excited to speak about the financial sustainability of CSR initiatives. But today specifically, we're going to be tackling the issue of transforming Ant Financial's CSR platform, Ant Forest, from a cost generator to a money maker. And in this, we're going to do that while facing the challenges of an increase in competition from companies such as Tencent and the increase in government regulations. And so we have come up with a strategy titled Loyalty Forest that will not only allow Ant Forest to overcome the challenges and really transform their CSR platform into a money maker, but will also allow them to see revenues of $112 million in 3 years and an increase in Alipay user activity by 40 to 60%. And so we're going to be starting with a very comprehensive analysis that includes both external and internal factors. This is going to be presented by my colleague Yasmina. Then I'm going to be walking you through our strategic alternatives and then pinpointing the strategy we have decided to go for. After that, Marla will be walking you through the steps, the implementation steps of what it takes to turn our strategy into full force. And finally, we're going to be ending things with the impact of the strategy. This is going to be presented by my colleague Fuad. And so the following analysis will serve as the cornerstone or the rationale of the strategy. Yasmina?
Okay, so we're going to start out by talking about the green sustainability movement in China. So it all started with the Kyoto Protocol back in 1997, which introduced the controlling of greenhouse emissions. So, and then China participated in a lot of other protocols and a lot of other conferences related to the green initiative. And finally, it started investing in millions of dollars in geoengineering and shifting to, and vowed to shift to electrical vehicles by 2030. And all this shows us that the green movement is on the rise. So we're gonna talk about how the financial fintech sector is being affected by by the rise of the sustainability movement. So right now, the fintech sector is pressured from a lot of regulators, and the finance and banking sector was actually ranked last in terms of behaving responsibly towards the society. So they were kind of forced to invest in CSR and specifically in green CSR to follow the trend I just mentioned. But however, there's a lot of problems that arise about that because it's kind of difficult to implement and it's very costly. So in the fintech industry, we know that it's kind of a rigid industry. Consumers are sometimes difficult to understand what's happening. So it's very important to engage consumers in this industry. It's very important to offer stuff like gamification, like giving them the option to create bonds, to share stuff with their friends. And most importantly, Chinese consumers really care about having a good deal, having an offering that kind of packages everything into one. And so Ant should capitalize on what consumers really like. And now it's important to look at where Ant Financial stands with respect to their competitor, Tenpay, their greatest competitor in China. In terms of engagement, we see that Ant kind of lags behind Tenpay because Tenpay is on the WeChat platform, which contains many messaging applications, which kind of keeps the consumer there, as compared to AntPay, which is on the Alipay platform, which is more of one stop and go, a short period of time spent on it. And in terms of green CSR, we noticed that Ant has actually developed the Ant Forest, which is garnering a lot of success in China, as compared to Tenpay, who has yet to develop anything. Now, in terms of market share, we see that Ant has had 53% of the market share, which has actually dropped 24% in the last couple of years, as compared to Tenpay, who has less than 47%. So we can really conclude that Ant faces very fierce competition in this sector. However, it's kind of trying to compensate that with the Ant Forest initiative that they have started. The Ant Forest initiative, as you all may know, is about encouraging consumers and individuals to actually reduce their greenhouse emissions, and ultimately they'll get a tree planted in the forest. And this kind of includes everything that consumers like, which I have previously mentioned. They like the gamification aspect, the engagement, and most importantly, the tangible benefit of planting an actual tree that they can actually see using satellites. And most importantly, they actually garnered 350 million users during this time. So, however, any great strategy comes with its costs, and they have actually incurred $72 million in cost and actually a net loss of 274 million USD in the last 9 months. So I'm going to go over a few key takeaways from my analysis. The consumers really appreciate tangible benefits. The Ant Forest has built a huge customer base of 350 million users. And lastly, it's very difficult for firms to develop CSR, especially green CSR initiatives. And so the question arises, how could Ant Forest monetize its platform to stay competitive?
Okay, so after taking a look at this comprehensive analysis, let's really delve into the strategic alternatives that we have identified. We were able to identify 3 main alternatives. The first being a subscription-based loyalty program that would be offered to retailers and businesses who accept Alipay. The second is transforming the Ant Forest into a microloans platform, which allows users to really offer microloans to farmers, but in a gamified way. And the third alternative we identified was to partner up with insurance in order to give them the data or sell them the data of how much these consumers are walking, since how much they're investing in preventative measures, since we know the insurance companies are really focusing on that today. And to measure these 3, we looked at 3 factors: feasibility, so in terms of cost and how feasible these 3 alternatives would be. We looked at sustainability, how sustainable can these alternatives truly be, since sustainability is a huge issue for CSR initiatives. And finally, we looked at the alignment with the value proposition. So what really was Ant Forest attempting to achieve, and do these alternatives really align with that? So looking at these 3 criteria, let's look at subscription-based loyalty program. We were able to see that it's generally a positive strategy to go for, since it's feasible, it's sustainable, and it really aligns with the value proposition. For the second alternative, which is the microloans platform, we realized although it's feasible, it's not very sustainable, because we would have to constantly get these little loans from the users of the app, and it wouldn't be that gamified for them to be invested in, and it's not really aligned with the value proposition that Ant Forest is trying to achieve. So with the final alternative, the partnerships with insurance companies, it is feasible and it does align with the value proposition, but it isn't very sustainable for us. And that's why we have identified that subscription-based loyalty programs would be the way to go. And so why are we really looking at loyalty programs? Well, we realize that companies are increasingly looking to invest in CSR initiatives. It was mentioned that Bank of America is spending millions of dollars towards CSR initiatives, and we do understand that lots of smaller companies are trying to get in on that. And again, companies spend millions on developing their own loyalty programs. And that's why we realized that Ant Forest really can offer these companies that are looking for CSR initiatives and looking for loyalty programs a platform. And that's why we titled it the Loyalty Forest. So let's look deeper into what the Loyalty Forest really entails.
So I'm going to walk you through the entire process in terms of 3 main things. What is the actual program that we want to introduce to the platform? Who is the main target that we are targeting with this initiative? And what's the fee in return for this offering? Let's start with the program. So we are offering a new feature to this application that integrates its already existent feature, which is the tree, but adding a loyalty program to monetize it and to take advantage of this program. So let's say it ranges from 15% all the way up to 95%. So the more they contribute in the environment, the more points they're going to get, and those points are redeemable in terms of the businesses we're collaborating with, which takes me to the target. Now, Our main target, as I've mentioned, are going to be the retail stores. Those stores are going to be the stores that you want to collaborate with in terms of the redeemable loyalty program that you have. The main factors is that, first of all, they do have to accept Alipay, since that is the platform you want to work with. In addition, they should not have their own loyalty program, because that is the benefit we are offering to you or to the company. Let's take Sasa for an example. They don't have a loyalty program, so by collaborating with them and offering them this initiative, it's a mutual benefit. Now, how much is the cost? In terms of the cost, we divided it into 3 different sectors. It's going to go from small, medium to large. Now, the small organizations are the ones that have 2 or less branches, the medium 2 to 10, and then large greater than 10. The fee that we are asking from them is that 1 to 3K for the small, 10 to 12K for the medium, and finally large are going to be required to pay 30 to 50K per year for this entire loyalty program. But we're also offering them a trial period of 3 months, because as you know, B2B relationships are very tricky, and you do want to give them this opportunity to test the product before diving into it. So how is this going to look like in terms of marketing it? Now, marketing is very important when it comes to B2B, and we're offering a notification marketing that's going to send them, notifying whoever has Alipay and the businesses you want to collaborate with, the bundle prices. So we're going to send them detailed information about the system, the subscription model, and what is the benefit they're going to get in return. Then they are going to get the trial period, test it out for a period of 3 months. In the case they do like it, they are going to purchase this program based on the size of the business. Now, let me walk you through a customer journey. So, let's take Yen for an example. Yen is a millennial. She loves to shop, she does have Alipay, and she loves beauty products. Her favorite store is Sasa. So, she gets a notification that says, this collaboration with Alipay now has a loyalty program, which means that she's going to get benefits. So, she goes on to her Alipay account, she does have the tree already existent. She goes around and does initiatives, green initiatives, she recycles, she goes by the bus, and she gets more points. Then she sees that her tree has reached 20%, and she gets 50 points based off of that. So she decides to go to Sasa and redeem those 50 points. Let's say she gets a lipstick package. So not only is she getting the benefit of helping the environment and improving the CSR initiative, she's also getting a return, which are the gifts. Now, let's walk you through the entire process and the impact on the stakeholders.
So we were able to identify, as Marla mentioned, 3 stakeholders for this strategy. The main being Ant Forest, the company that we are trying to revamp and monetize. The second being the stores that we are looking to offer this loyalty program to. And finally, the end users, the customers who are going to be making use of this product. And so the impact on all 3 is, for Ant Forest, we are creating a new revenue stream, which is the subscription fees that they're going to be getting. For these stores, they're going to be getting loyalty programs in addition to investing in CSR initiatives, which will have great reputational benefits for them. And finally, for the customers, not only will they feel that they're contributing to the environment, but they're also getting a real tangible benefit by visiting their favorite stores who have partnered up with our Ant Forest. And so now that we've seen the details of our strategy and what it really looks like in terms of implementation, let's take a look at the timeline and the financials.
So before diving into the details of our costs and the impact of our strategy, let's take a look at the implementation schedule. As you can see, the 3 key actions to be undertaken are the update, the approach or marketing, and the continuous offering. As you can see, the update will take around 1 to 4 weeks, which is a prompt investment in update to counteract the financial downturn. Furthermore, the approach will take 4 to 8 weeks, where the company will gather and analyze the existing information to categorize the product offering to each business. And finally, it is a continuous offering of the service based on the yearly subscription basis for each and every business. To take note, it is necessary to invest in this update as soon as possible due to the current and future predicted financial struggles that Ant Financials will face. So let's take a look at the detailed costs of Loyalty Forest. As you know, we propose to update the current platform offering, which will cost around 10 to 15,000 US dollars due to the in-house development of this added feature. Also, there will be a marketing aspect to our strategy, which will cost around 50 to 80,000 US dollars, which will solely be due to the fact that it is notification marketing to businesses rather than advertising or expensive forms of marketing. Now, we saw the costs of our implementation. Let's take a look at the financial impacts attained. In the results of the first year alone, you will be targeting 30 large businesses, 80 medium-sized businesses, and 220 small businesses based on the current current businesses that you offer Alipay to. And assuming that 80% retention rate from the trial period or the 3 months trial period, your company will be generating 3 million in US dollars in the first year alone. Now, we saw the results from the first year. Let's take a look at the results from the third year. The generated revenues will not only grow at a substantial rate or at an exponential rate. You can see that it will grow from 3 million US dollars all the way to 112 million US dollars due to the further acquisition of new businesses or current businesses that you have not yet targeted. And there will be an increase in Alipay user activity by 40 to 60%, which will counteract the effect of the competitive landscape, which is solely through leveraging on the 350 million ant forest users that are existing on the platform. Now, we saw the costs and we saw the impact of our strategy. Let's take a look at the risks associated with the external factors that may arise. First risk, which yields a low probability at a very high impact, is the imitation by the competitors, and specifically Tencent. The mitigation of this strategy is the increase of duration of the subscription to lock in these customers. And not only that, you can re-mitigate the strategy by offering a longer subscription bundle for more competitive prices. Second risk that we have identified is the loss of interest of users. Users really want to be updated on the gamification aspect of a platform. So the mitigation that we propose is the continuous update in the platform offering, and specifically in that of gamification. So we saw how the strategy is formed. I'll let Lean wrap up.
Okay, so to conclude, today we suggested that to monetize Ant Forest's platform, we suggested that they partner up or they start offering loyalty programs to businesses that already have Alipay. This will not only allow them to monetize their platform, but it will also allow them to reach the revenues of $112 million in 3 years and increase Alipay user activity by 40 to 60%. So that was it for today. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. We are now open to any Q&A you may have. Questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Team Lebanon. Let's now move on to the 15 minutes Q&A session. Judges, please.
Okay, why don't we start the session? Thank you very much for the presentation. Maybe George, you can start.
Sure. I like to know thinking about monetizing loyalty for us. Did you also think about impacts such as on investor relations in terms of attracting more ESG investment or impact on the brand in terms of strength for customer acquisition and retention, and also for talents pool, to recruit talents for the company. So these are also monetary impact items.
So if I may recall, you want to see the impact on how the talent acquisition is going to be, and sorry, can you repeat the...
my question
acquisition
is,
of investors, talent, and etc.
I think monetary impact can be measured in different ways, right? I just wonder if you also thought about the brand effect, and also the investor relations effect.
Yeah, we did think about the brand effect, and that's why we wanted to align ourselves with businesses or partners that really are looking at the same direction we are looking at, which is CSR initiatives. And that's why we wanted to partner with those who are already familiar with our company. So in that terms, that's why we wanted to offer these loyalty programs, not only to add value to them, but have more partners with us in the CSR initiative. In terms of talent acquisition, really felt that already what the company is doing is attracting lots of reputational benefits, and lots of new talent is looking into getting into the company, especially millennials such as ourselves, who really care about companies that are doing CSR initiatives. So we did consider that, but we thought in general the company is doing so well in talent acquisitions that we didn't really want to touch upon that.
Just one add-on. In terms of the fintech solutions, you have a big base, 350 million users. So in creating green loyalty forest points, for example, did you also think about a fintech platform for that, like tokens and STO kind of development?
So it did mention in the case that the CO2 emission reduction will actually move to monetary benefits towards the governments or big companies. However, it has not been yet implemented to individuals. But Alipay, or the mother company of Alipay, actually, Ant Financials, they actually saw that there's an opportunity to leverage upon this before the government's actually deciding to move into the monetary benefits on the individuals for their CO2 reductions. So there is a movement towards that area, and there is a monetary benefit to them. So instead of moving into tokens, we thought that we would let things be, because it is moving into that direction. It is moving into incentivizing individuals to reduce carbon emissions rather than just the big industries or the big governments themselves.
Susan?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd like to know whether you considered the fact that most of these purchases are done online rather than from physical stores, and how you were contemplating that the gifts, such as a free lipstick from Sasa, which I'm in huge favour of, how's that going to be delivered to the customers? And secondly, a lot of the use of the platform is not for the purchase of physical goods, but of course it's for services or booking cinema tickets. How will they engage, the providers of those, how will they engage with the loyalty program? What will they be providing?
So, of course, this loyalty program, the companies already will be offering them, and their customers will have known that there's a loyalty program such as the one that they're going to be offered. And so, whether it's online payments to the business itself or it's a physical in-store payment, the amount of points that they collect is still reserved, and they can still redeem them. So, it isn't an issue of whether it's online or physical in-store payments. And the Alipay was really just focusing on which businesses we're going to be targeting, not necessarily the users actually using Alipay itself. So yeah, I hope this answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay. In assessing the viability of a plan like this and how feasible it is, I like to just see, you put out some numbers there, 112 million, is it? Yeah. Okay, you had some number. I just wonder, what are some of the assumptions? Have you looked at, how many users must be there? How sticky it is? What's the retention rate? And just give me some backing on some of the numbers that you put on.
So the idea behind how we deduced the financials was basically due to the fact that we kept ourselves conservative with the 80% retention from year to year after the 3-month period. That was the first thing, and the 350 million users that are already on Ant Forest. So the conversion of those 350 into the loyalty programs would generate at least 300 businesses attained by the first year itself. So moving from that, we decided to categorize the businesses into 3: the large enterprises, the medium-sized enterprises, and the small enterprises, and through the classification based on the number of stores they offer. And from there, we gave the numbers for $35,000 to $50,000 for the large companies on an annual subscription base, and $10,000 to $12,000 for the medium-sized enterprises on an annual subscription base, and $1,000 to $3,000 for the small enterprises subscription base on an annual basis. So through that, we optimized these figures in order to match the requirements for the future years, in order to cover all the costs that will be incurred in the future. So I hope that answers.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow-up question also. In terms of using the points for the individual consumer, do you allow a trading of points and pooling of this to actually do something together?
That's definitely an opportunity that we would suggest looking into in the long term, but we just wanted to get a light version out there first, get some traction for the loyalty program in general, and then if any company sees, so we can have a feedback system with the companies to see what their customers are asking for. If the customers realize that they would like to gift these points to friends, that's a feature that definitely can be added on the platform.
Okay. Maybe my fellow panel members have follow-up questions. George?
Just about the points, just to follow on the question. The points can be traded and can be actually used for charity and other purposes, and can pull more points, in the future. Did you also think about how to leverage from the end financial platform to have implementation of that trading system? Or you want it to be a proprietary system, if you would consider that, or you would make use of another system that is in place somewhere?
I'm sorry, I didn't really catch the last sentence.
Trading of points, right now there are many so-called digital exchanges in the region,
Yes.
new ones.
Yes.
This is a hypothetical question. If you ever think of having a trading platform, for loyalty forest,
So like a peer-to-peer.
would you do outsourcing, or you would create one, leveraging from Ant Financial's infrastructure?
No, definitely, since Ant Financials has a very broad ecosystem, we would look into having it be solely for Ant Financial, so within the portfolio, because they have the expertise, they have everything to complete the ecosystem. And as you mentioned, peer-to-peer sharing of tokens or money is a huge thing now. So definitely it's going to be within the company and not really outsourced or anything else.
Just to add to this, they actually do this at the moment, where they share the points that they redeem through the CO2 carbon emissions, the decrease in the reduction in CO2 emissions. So I hope that clarifies.
Thanks. One final question. When you were formulating your plans, did you think about the value of the customer data? Is there going to be any sort of transfer of customer data from Ant to the to the loyalty program users, or what do the customers sign up directly on a bilateral basis with the loyalty program users?
So in terms of customer data, you mean how? Okay, so we did think about how the data we're collecting from Ant Forest could be used later on for the other branches. We thought, since the company has an insurance offering, but they don't take premiums. We thought about maybe having the point system be sort of like a premium to an insurance policy, and having that data shared throughout the ecosystem. But really, with our strategy, we wanted to focus on directly how we can offer benefit to our partners in terms of those who use Alipay, and how we can really monetize and push forward the CSR initiative that the company is already trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you.
Let me also ask, this looks like a pretty good scheme for Ant Financial and so on. Have you thought about how something like this could benefit a broader spectrum of other businesses, and how you transfer this idea more widely into other parts of the, in other parts of the industry? maybe not same industry, there'll be competition, but to use the same sort of ideas. How much can you leverage this concept that you're developing for one company into something that's generally more beneficial to society?
So the idea of leveraging the loyalty program. Yeah, well, since definitely we were able to identify that companies in general are looking for CSR initiatives, and in addition, they're looking to have loyalty programs or any sort of platform to connect them with their end users. This could definitely transfer or it's scalable to other industries who are looking to achieve both goals of having that platform with the end user to engage with their end users and also be able to achieve their CSR objectives. So it could spread out to numerous industries that don't really have that connection with their consumers yet and leverage gamification that the platform currently offers.
Maybe one of the things which George started is the points could be generally usable in other circumstances. And then you use that to lead into other sort of industries and other sectors. How much thought have you given to actually the implementation of this as a wider concept?
Yeah, we did think of the insurance industry specifically in terms of how that could help, specifically since we know that insurance companies are looking and investing more in preventive care as not to incur lots of claims. We did talk about that, but we didn't know the regulations that would come into play, the governmental regulations in terms of giving or sharing that data with insurance companies, specifically since the company was in a rough situation with the government in terms of their own insurance branch. But we did give it some thought, but due to the limited knowledge we have about regulations, we decided not to really pursue that path.
Well, are there any? Nope. Any follow-up questions? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.